All right, welcome to the podcast Encrypted Minds. And on this episode, I have a very interesting guest, Ellie Pikula, co-founder and CEO of Vigilant, which we're going to discuss more in depth in a moment. My name is Edwin Karlas, founder of Level Up Sales Consultancy, and I'm pleased to have my guest here. Ellie, please can you introduce yourself, who you are, what you're
Yeah,
doing?
definitely. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Very excited to chat today. My name is Ellie. I am, like you mentioned, the co founder and CEO of Vigilant. Um, Background on me, I worked in the government pretty much my whole career here in the US. So, did some time at the FBI, started out in intelligence, then went on to become a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I then left the FBI, went to the Department of State where I did intelligence operations there. That's where I met my other co-founder actually, and where we came up with this with this vision for Vigilant, which is to provide safety and security through a mobile application to businesses and their employees.
Sounds very interesting and an hot topic now in these days, especially in the Netherlands and the European Union, where we are, where I am located. What we're going to discuss is your journey as an entrepreneur, your triumphs, your challenges, and the things also you like being an entrepreneur as a founder of Vigilant. And also, I would like to understand the app what is special about the app you just created, why you made the decision to start this app, and what are your main drivers to develop this with the team you are currently driving. So, if I may start also with the origin of the idea, the vision of the app with your co-founder. What in particular made you think about creating this application?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, started my career in the government, and I feel like most people that are in the government, um, they end up wanting to leave the government, at least here in the U.S. Sometimes you just get a little burnt out, and truly, me and my co-founder, we joined the government to help people, and to bring solutions and safety to just American citizens at the end of the day. And the more that you're working in the government, the more that you're seeing, sometimes you feel like that's not always like the core mission of what your day to day sometimes looks like. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on behind the scenes, understandably so. And so for us, we just wanted to take matters into our own hands and build something that we were really proud of and we felt like really kept just helping people at the core of its mission. And so that was kind of how we got started on this idea for Vigilant. And we kind of looked at how anytime anything ever happens in the world at this point, our friends and family and everyone just kind of comes to us as government employees and they're like, what do you think about this? Or how should you handle this situation? Or what are your thoughts on how this is evolving? And we kind of realized that there's a gap in what we're taught as government employees and what the everyday person or employee is taught. And so our goal with Vigilant was to really bridge that gap to bring best practice safety solutions to businesses that they can then pass to their employees to help kind of navigate this ever evolving threat landscape that seems like is becoming increasingly more unstable day after day, unfortunately.
How come? What is the reason you think? And maybe it is the social media. News can spread much faster than it used to be. But maybe you can think
Yeah,
about you thought about something else?
Yeah, I definitely do think social media has something to play into it in the sense that you are able to tap into information and news feeds from so many different sources that maybe you just weren't ever going to be able to in your country. For example, if you look way back before social media was a huge thing, you might hear very large events unfolding in countries outside of the US or in areas that don't necessarily concern you. But nowadays, you have the ability to get so much more granular and just niche with with what's happening outside of your bubble, which is a great thing. Everyone should be aware of what's
Yes.
happening because things that happen here can impact you guys. Things that are happening over there have impact on us. So having that type of global understanding of events as they unfold is super important. And so I think that's happening, and it sometimes is scaring people a little bit, even though some of these things have just always been unfolding and going on. You just have, a magnifying glass on a lot of situations at this point. But I also do think there are just rising tensions, like geopolitically, that are unfolding that are starting to come to like a boiling point, I would say. And so I think that's also adding to a lot of what we're now seeing in terms of, the stress that's increasing in just people day to day, and the geopolitical spectrum and how that's unfolding and, how people are now responding to that, which is fear, understandably so.
Yeah, understandably so. But now we're in a situation that the more the geopolitical tensions are rising, it's good for the acceptance of your app. Well, initially you started with the,
Unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately, because you started with the government also to help people, but
Mhm.
now you're more or less in a perverse situation that rising tensions are good for
Yes.
business. How do you do this with the team? Because I can also imagine this was not your main driver to start a company to get rich on fear.
No, absolutely not. That's, like, my worst nightmare, and it is something that we deal with, like, I internally do deal with that because that is a thing that does come up in your brain of, like, all of these bad things are happening, and you're creating a solution that, is supposed to be it is helping people, navigate for it, but it is something that you then are profiting off of, and at the end of the day, we want to bring to Vigilant the smartest minds, the most qualified individuals. We're not a safety company that came together as just like a business guy that had, or person, we'll say, man or woman, that had an idea and was like, I can make a lot of money off this. Our team as a whole are dedicated to protecting people with extensive military backgrounds, government backgrounds, law enforcement backgrounds. And so we all have that same driving factor, which at the end of the day is to help people. And the way that we can do that is by providing an app or a service to individuals that gives them at least one teaches them how to navigate the complex situations, but hopefully also keeps them out of a horrible situation. And we are trying to make it an affordable solution for businesses alike, and eventually looking to bring that to the consumer market so that it's not, like, how can we make billions of dollars off of this? But it's how can we have a sustaining business, but also make this an affordable solution to the everyday person. Like, I think our average cost per user, like, that someone's paying is $12.99. That's like a coffee and a half in the US at
Yeah.
Starbucks. So, it's like that's our goal is, like, how can we make this as affordable as possible while still maintaining the talent within our business and who we're onboarding so that we can ensure that those, cutting edge solutions and top security practices are being reflected within the app for the consumer.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting because you're from the government, your law enforcement, FBI. You mentioned it earlier, but all of a sudden you're running a company with an application that is quite complex because you
Yes.
make use of thousands of data sources, also to
Yes.
get the algorithms work to see what the safety measures needs to be for the specific person on a specific spot globally.
Mhm. Yes.
How did you how did you make those steps towards the software development? And how can you make it
Yeah.
understand it for yourself?
Hiring people that are smarter than me, in
Yeah.
terms of the technical solution. So I'm a non-technical co-founder, so obviously I understand security and safety really well, and I know what the end consumer is looking for in a product like this. But putting all of the technical pieces together behind the scenes, I've been very fortunate that we have an amazing technical team, that specializes in this exact thing, who have been able to build, artificial intelligence, back end software systems that are able to ingest millions of data sources, and then meet a criteria and threshold that, us on more of the security front, um, are comfortable with and like meet our threshold to then deliver that to the individuals that are actually looking at the content coming in. And then we do provide filtering capabilities so that you can tailor what feeds are important to you. That's a big portion of like what or it's a big part of what we're trying to build as a company here is a tailor-made solution for you. Because what's a threat to me and what's a threat to you and what's a threat to, someone down the street might all look differently,
Yes.
just depending on our comfortability with things happening around us. And so our goal is to put the decision of what is a threat to you in your hands so that you can, respond accordingly, avoid a situation, not go down that road, avoid that building, do whatever is best for you.
Yeah. You mentioned something else. It's not only about safety security, but also the complex development of the software, but it needs to go hand in hand with usability for the average user. Because
Yes,
if you're in a certain situation, you don't have to think about how the app is working again. You need instantly to know how it saves you, right?
exactly.
Is that a certain discrepancy you see with regards of the software development and usability with with your users?
Yeah, so a lot of that comes down to just overall like UX UI design and
Yeah.
how we navigate through that. And a lot of that just comes to like testing. So we launched our beta program about a month and a half ago. And a lot of that beta program was getting the app in the hands of people from all different walks of life. So you have your government and your military, and you have, you know, the mom that's just concerned about their child and where they're at in school, or the family that has their kids now on a study abroad program. And so we wanted to gauge the UX UI design across all different walks of life, experience, and say like what makes the most sense to make the most important information just upfront in your face, easy for you to read and follow no matter what your technical skills are at the end of the day. Because when it comes down to it with safety, and as soon as that fight or flight gets triggered, all of your system and your motor functions and your cognitive ability decrease drastically. And so for us, that's been something that we've always really put at the forefront of the key functions within our app is, in the event something does happen, what is going to be, the best possible function or feature here to help someone easily take in that information and then respond accordingly.
Yeah. Wow, that's a really amazing job. If you can just combine
Oh,
everything, because in this
yeah.
you have to think in a split second what you need to do,
Yes.
and you need to be
Oh, yeah.
prepared with your UX designers and also the complexity of the software itself. May I ask, Ellie, you mentioned AI also earlier in
Mhm.
the conversation. How do you deploy, of how are you using artificial intelligence in your application?
Yeah, so we have some AI machine learning happening on the back end, especially when it comes to a lot of our data that we're ingesting, which I won't get into like too much of the specifics of how we're navigating that. But obviously, when you're ingesting, millions of data feeds a day, you need to ensure that you have something in place. With AI, it does allow you to, sort through things in a much more efficient and effective manner without having to deploy, a full analytical team to do what you would have had to do before the world of AI came into place. And then on the front end side, we do have an AI RAG chatbot that's built into the app, that basically you can ask it any type of travel specific question that you're looking for. So we trained it off of government sources. So think, CDC department, CIA's website, all of that, so that you are getting that level of information and response back to you. If you want to ask it, I'm a female traveler that just landed in Colombia. What are the safest transportation methods that exist here? And it will actually give you a breakdown and tell you and kind of like walk you through that process. That just gives you that information more upfront than having to, go down like a Google spiral or go through TikTok or whatever the case may be to find that answer.
Yeah, yeah, I can see what you mean. Um, so you're using AI on the back end,
Mhm.
but also using
Yep.
AI in the front end. Makes me
Yes.
think. I spoke to a cybersecurity expert the other day, and he was also talking about AI being used by the good guys and the bad guys.
Yes.
How do you consider AI? It can be a threat, it can be a guardian. How do you consider AI?
That's one of those, it can be either or type questions. It really is at the hands of the people using it. And I think that goes for a lot of different things. Like you look at encrypted messaging platforms, for example, a lot of really great people are using encrypted messaging platforms, but criminals are also using it
Yeah.
and finding ways to evade law enforcement detection and things of that nature. So I do think that AI could be a huge guardian. Like I mentioned, we have this backend system parsing through millions of data points a day, doing what would have required, hundreds of analysts to do at the same rate that this AI machine on the back end is doing. That's great for business, for, the future of the company and being a pre-revenue startup. That's, every dollar counts. Being able to operate at that level that early on is a huge asset. That being said, there is now a lot of discussions around AI of, should we be implementing policies around AI? At least this is what we're talking about in the United States. What are the policies that we're going to implement in place? Because they are predicting, if we just let this run free, what
Yes.
is that going to look like? And what implications will that have on us as a society from, not just us now not being able to control AI, but like also from a job and economic standpoint. I mean, that could have major impact if you just let AI take out everyone's jobs at some point. That's horrific. And so I do think that we haven't ever really done anything as a society to just be like, run free and whatever's going to happen is going to happen because it's going to make us a lot of money. That never ends well. So I do think that we need to be doing a heavy push to implementing policies that, align with the progress and the potential of AI, but also put right and left limits around what that looks like to ensure that the good guys are using AI for good and to better society and better businesses and better and streamline their production and their output and give startups that are in cases like us where they are pre-revenue and every dollar counts the ability to build something amazing. But I also think that, make sure that it's used properly and without having proper limitations in place does allow people to use it in a way that then makes it, more of a problem than an asset.
That's a very good answer. May I ask, maybe it's a difficult question for you. You're from the government. And on a certain
Yes.
moment, you can see AI as a guardian for your users. But
Mhm.
imagine that it's contradicting the compliance rules. The AI needs to
Yeah,
make a decision. What are you going to do? Is it compliancy or is it safety for the user?
yeah. That's where it becomes a little difficult. One thing I will say is whenever there is compliance that comes down from the government and laws and regulations and things of that nature, it's your role as a business owner to stay within the parameters. But there is always a solution normally, if you're doing
Yes.
things legally, to get from point A to point B. You might have to make adjustments within your workflows, within how you're doing things. But you also have to keep in mind, like, if it is truly for the betterment of, society for people, at the end of the day, laws and regulations are supposed to be put in place to keep people safe. I know that people might have like varying opinions on whether that's a
Yeah.
factual statement or not. So do what you will with however you feel on that. I would like to think that a lot of rules and policies that come down are to keep people safe.
Yeah.
And so if that was what was put forth, I think that try to ensure that there were ways to get to where I needed to go that were within the compliance and regulations that were put forth by the government.
Yeah.
And I think
I
I would be able to.
I agree. I think you're able to, and I see what you mean. And I think that most of these kind of rules are thought uh, came from good intentions initially.
Yes.
Yeah. Makes me think about the next step in AI. Have you thought about the limitations, about the ethical aspects of AI? What is your opinion
Definitely.
about it?
I don't like, nor do I ever want to see like AI fully replace workforces. Like to me, that is where you like really start stepping into like unethical business operations. I think that I always, to a large degree, prefer some level of human in the loop than
Yes.
just heavily relying on, computers and AI and everything to do the work for you. And that's just my own biased opinion. Like, I'm not saying that that's the most efficient way to go about it, but me myself, I want to be an ethical business owner. And I want to give jobs to people that, come from our backgrounds that are looking to give it or have an impact in society and to provide safety to people that they care about or people that they don't even know, but still feel like a level of responsibility for like their safety. And I think that if I became so AI focused as a business owner, I would not allow people to do that. And to me, that's unethical. Like, I would never, that's not why I'm doing this. Like, if that meant I don't ever become a billionaire, that's fine. That's fine with me. My goal is just to have a successful business that, like I said, keeps people safe. And as long as I can survive in my day to day to make that happen, and I know, like, if any investors listening to this, they're going to hate that answer, but that's fine. Then they're not the investor for us. But yeah, I just don't think that replacing your workforce just because of output efficiency is necessarily the best or ethical answer, I would say. It might be the best financial answer, but not the best ethical answer.
I can also imagine that you need investors that believes in your personal values.
Definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. So we spoke about you mentioned already some of your personal values. Can you tell me tell us a little bit more about your story as an entrepreneur? Can you share some
Yeah.
triumphs or challenges you're facing?
So many triumphs and so many more challenges.
Okay.
I would say anyone that probably starts a business, especially in this like pre-revenue state, is going it's like the ultimate roller coaster of like the highs are super high, the lows are really low. You're constantly just like trying to tread water while simultaneously like drowning and waves are crashing ahead and there's like sharks circling you in the deep end. And so just navigating how to get through that has probably been the most difficult thing, but I would say, like, I have learned that having a network has been, like, the best thing that you could ever have. Like, a network of maybe, I would say, like, startup CEOs that have made it, have done, like, on paper what you're dreaming of doing, because they're so good at kind of walking you off the ledge when things get really hard, and you just see how, like, everything you're going through is so normal and what everyone else has already gone through. And a lot of what I'm now starting to figure out is like the people that make it because they hung on the longest and believed in what they were doing and just like held on to that idea for dear life and didn't let anyone like deter them ever. And so that's what I always take, like, you're gonna get a million no's. Like, everyone when you first start is gonna tell you, like, no, it's not the right time to give you money. No, I don't think that this product fits our portfolio. No, our company doesn't want this. We don't have a need for it. And so taking the no's and like learning something from every no has been something that I've really tried to do. So that one, you're kind of like there will be groups that just will tell you no, and that's just not the right group for your product. And so your first step is like finding the yes of who that group is and then making something that's amazing for them, which I guess we call product market fit. And then also, as you're going through like the investments and, found like everything like that, taking all of those no's with a grain of salt and understanding like every startup has had a million no's. I think they say it like 80 no's before you get a yes. So, just understanding that that's my day to day is just I'm gonna get a million no's, but I will get one yes during that week, and that's gonna be my win, and we cling to that win, and we find a way to get another win next week and grow on that win that we got the week before, and that's kind of how I've just been framing my life as a founder, as someone who's also never founded like, done a startup in my life.
Now, well, it seems that it is also a mindset. You change your mindset. You've
Yes.
been talking to people and you're opening up to accept the no's as a new challenge to overcome and become even better.
Yes. I do think there's a lot of just being very open and vulnerable, like having conversations like this. I don't think a lot of founders maybe sometimes want to get on and be like, I get told no all the time. But that's just the reality. Everyone does. And actually, within this residency program that I'm currently doing up here in New York City, that was a big portion of their story of, there's all these businesses that they've invested in and you see like the shiny headline on LinkedIn of like they just got a $3 million investment round and yada yada yada. but like no one talks about all the things that happened from like their inception to getting that investment round and all the no's that existed before them like finally making it and how they've navigated through that. And so I do think that I try to be a very transparent business owner as well, or like founder, and just like what the reality of this looks like so that other people can kind of hopefully relate to it a little bit better.
I can relate to this personally. When we invited you for this podcast, your reply was very positive. So you were setting the tone already for the conversation, and that has an this is positive also for the people you talk to. And I can imagine if you do it to me, you can also do it to your co-workers, to the investors you talk to, and also eventually the people who are going to buy use your application for the purpose you build it for, which is nice. You set the tone for the entire organization. Is it something you find difficult because you have your own mindset, but are also having a team, having new people
Yeah.
to the team, and sometimes you also need to focus on their mindset and let them overcome the no. How do you deal with this? Because you're not only the entrepreneur, but also team manager.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I love it, but that I've kind of I don't I want to say forced my mentality. I was an athlete my whole life. And so I think being in an athletics space and like competing at a high level in athletics has like led me to set goals and understand that like not everything it's not a linear, uphill battle type thing, and you're going to have a lot of highs, a lot of lows, and if you just keep navigating through those and grinding it out, you will get to the goal that you want to be. And I try to instill that mentality within people that I hire. So, like, it's actually something I seek out when I'm going through the hiring process of what that person's mentality is to ensure that they're the right fit for a startup. Like, I've come across extremely successful people within their careers that have, on paper, blow me out of the water, can tell you that for free.
Yeah.
But just because you have done so much in your standard career, working for very well-known companies and, crushing enterprise sales and doing this, that, and the other thing, doesn't mean that you're necessarily the right fit for our startup right now because it's a totally different dynamic. It will humble you. There is check your ego at the door type of mentality, and I really do look for that type of person when going through the hiring process. A good question that I was told to ask people is, "Do you love to win or do you hate to lose?" And see how they answer that question, because it's the people that hate to lose that are great fits for startups because the lows are so low, and if you hate to lose, you will persevere and get through them. But if you just love to win and that's like where you get your high, you're gonna not love the startup life at all.
I'm very happy with this explanation. Actually, I was a little bit, oh, well, what's she going to say? Because this is an excellent question. And yeah,
Yes,
I hate to lose more than I love to win. But apparently can be
yes.
part of a startup. Good to know. All
You're
right.
great. I'll hire you. Do you wanna come work for
Well, this is something I also, back in my career, when I need to hire people, it was not about the skills. It was mainly skills. You can teach skills, but my main characteristic was: are they coachable?
Yes,
Are they open to win or open to learn, to improve, and also work together? And if can they accept the critics and improve and implement
yes.
the next thing, and then you can build together. So it was my personal experience, but I like your question as well. So the next time I'm also going to include it in my
Yeah,
question. Quite
I
a basic
know. I was
question.
like, "That's so good."
Yeah, it's a very good question. May I ask, what is your biggest triumph till now? What is the thing that makes you very happy if you think about it again as an
I
entrepreneur?
think getting our first large investment, which was the thing that got us to just, like, go from, driving down the street to, like, a high-speed train down the road. It was the first thing that, like, I was like, "This person really believes in what we're doing." We got an angel investor, that gave us, uh, the money that we needed, honestly, to get the product to market, get the beta testers in there, and give us enough runway to, go through the validation process, find product market fit, do all the things that honestly are required in the startup space. When that happened, I think that was the first like major win when I was like, dang, we can like really have a shot at this to make it happen and make it what we want this to be. And also just to have someone that would believe in you that much to give you the chance to make that work when like at the time we didn't really have anything to show but like a dream and a group of people that were just really dedicated into making that happen. Um and so I think looking back, that was probably one of the most impactful things that we've had to date. And then we had also some friends and family that gave us investments too, and just like seeing the people that believe in you before you even have something that's out there that, gives them the confidence that it's going to to make
Yeah.
them money
And
one day, I think was very impactful for the team and gave us like a huge driving factor and motivation to like really like all of us left our jobs and came on board full time at that point and, just worked well, I mean, we're still working insane amount of hours to get this thing out and ready to go for businesses.
yeah, yeah, well, amazing. And it also brings you a lot of responsibility for the people you hire, for your investors,
Yes.
but still you can go on this beautiful win. May I ask, do you
Yes.
have an advice for other entrepreneurs who have just starting with their new venture? What would you say? What would you advise to those people?
Be delusional.
Delusional? Yeah,
Be be delusional. Be so delusional that your product, your idea, your vision is going to work, because if you, like, truly believe that, which I do, like, I literally said this in an interview to an investor. They're like, "What's your superpower?" And I was like, "Being delusional," which I didn't know if that was the right answer at the time, but I stand by this answer. And it's because, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to get so many no's. It's inevitable. You will get so many more no's than yeses. And if you are delusional in your belief that your product is going to work or your business or your idea or whatever the case may be, not one no will deter you from that vision. Like, if any, like every time I get a no, I'm like, you're going to regret that one day. Can promise you that. That's going to hurt you and it's fine. But and that's just how I go about it, and I know other founders that think like that, and not one no, like, ever sways their day. It's just, "No, okay, next, your loss, let's go, who's next in line, who wants it?" type of mentality, and I think that if you can come in as a starter, as a business owner in a startup, and you have that, it will get you so far because you will get to a yes.
yeah. Ah, I see what you mean. Um, where is your company in 5 years from now? What is your vision?
5 years from now, we are a multi-million dollar business 5 years from now that is dominating and revolutionize the way that businesses do safety and security for their employees. I also really would love to eventually tap into the D2C market. Like, my goal in life is to bring this to the everyday consumer at a very affordable price. Um, so that, it's not just businesses that are providing it to their employees, but, like families at home can give it to their employees. I would like to do that before 5 years, truthfully. Um, but I do know to have a sustained business that is, financially doing well so that I could bring in the resources and the things I need and provide a consumer cost that's at a reasonable price, I do have to start with a B2B type model.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Yeah, Ellie, I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much
Me too.
for your openness and also your vision
Of
about
course.
the application. I really enjoyed, and I want to thank you for your time. Um, I'm
Thank you.
really was excited to have you on the podcast, and yeah, thank you again. And I wish you all the very best with the application. I think we will keep in touch, and I will keep an eye on you and the company. Yeah, all the best.
Definitely. Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for having me on.